जी सामीन इकराम अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू. I'm Arifa Muzaffar. Today I have a wonderful person, a great person with me, and he knows subcontinent very well. He is Justice Markandey, an Indian jurist and the former judge of Supreme Court of India, who worked as a chairman for the Press Council of India from 2011 to 2014. ये एक politician, उनके बेटे हैं, ग्रैंडसन ऑफ कैलाश नाथ काजू उनके बेटे हैं, फाउंडर एंड पैट्रन ऑफ द इंडियन रीयूनिफिकेशन एसोसिएशन. यानी मकसद, द ओनली रीज़न व्हाट ही इज़ टू रीयूनिफाई ऑल द पीपल ऑफ ईस्ट to show their strength and come together. How this reunification be done with you? Thank you very much for joining me, sir.
See, this world is actually two worlds. It is not one world. On this earth, there exist two worlds. One is the world of the developed countries, which means North American countries, European countries, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and even China has joined their ranks now. The other world is the world of the underdeveloped countries, which include India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, other Asian countries, African countries, Latin American countries, etc. Now there is a very strong but very secret rule among the developed countries that underdeveloped countries must not be allowed to become developed countries. Why? Why is there this rule? Now, to explain this, I have to go into economics, because politics is concentrated economics. You will not be able to understand politics unless you understand economics. You see, cost of labor is a big chunk of the total cost of production. And if the cost of labor is less, then the cost of production is less. And if the cost of production is less, you can sell your goods at a much cheaper price and undersell your business rival. There's competition in the market. One businessman eliminates another businessman, not with guns or bombs or tanks, but by underselling him, which means selling the same high quality goods at a much cheaper price. To give an example, China had a revolution in 1949. Before that, China was a very poor country. 95% people of them were serfs, almost landless laborers, and a very backward country. But after 1949, the Chinese leaders who came to power rapidly industrialized China and built up a massive industrial base in China, which is still developing. Now, that massive industrial base, coupled with the cheap labor in China, enables the Chinese to undersell the whole world, particularly in consumer goods. If you go to American supermarkets, you will find they are packed with Chinese goods, because the Chinese sell the same high quality goods which the American manufacturer can sell, but at half the price, because the labor is cheap. Western labor is very expensive. So what I'm trying to say is that countries which have cheap labor have a distinct advantage over countries with expensive labor, provided they set up a massive industrial base. Now, if India and Pakistan set up a massive industrial base, with their cheap labor, they will undersell the American and European industries, which will collapse, because they won't be able to face the competition, because we will be selling goods at half the price, the same high quality goods at half the price. Who will buy the goods of Americans and Europeans? The industries will collapse, throwing millions of Americans and Europeans out of employment. Will they permit that? No, they will oppose it tooth and nail. So how do they oppose it tooth and nail? They oppose it tooth and nail by making Hindus and Muslims fight each other, by making people fight each other in the name of caste or language or some other ethnic basis or something like that. You see, the whole game which is going on in the world today is that the developed countries are making underdeveloped countries, people fight each other in the name of religion, caste, language, etc. This Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, he is nothing but an American agent. His job is to make Hindus and Muslims fight each other. And in fact, partition of 1947, which I regard as a British swindle, because really India and Pakistan are one country. We share the same culture. We were one for 500 years or more, and we look like each other. We speak Hindustani, many of us. So this partition was also done for the same reason that Hindus and Muslims must be made to fight each other, so that the Indian subcontinent does not emerge as a modern industrial giant like another USA or China, of which we have all the potential. We have got thousands of very bright engineers. We have got huge natural resources. Within 20 years, we can transform our Indian subcontinent into a modern industrial giant. But if we do so, then the industries of the developed countries will collapse. You understand? Please understand, this is a very secret rule which they have among the developed countries have. They will never talk about it. But it's a very, very strong rule that underdeveloped countries must not be allowed to become developed countries. Now the interest of the developed countries directly conflicts with the interest of the underdeveloped countries. Developed countries will not allow us to become developed countries, because then with our cheap labor and we set up a massive industrial base, the industry will collapse and millions will be thrown out of employment. On the other hand, on our part, we must become developed countries, because unless we set up a massive industrial base and become a mighty industrial giant, we will never be able to abolish poverty or unemployment or hunger or lack of healthcare, lack of good education, etc. So our interests directly conflict each other. Now, how is this contradiction to be solved? In my opinion, it can only be solved by mighty historical people's struggles and a people's revolution. It can't be solved peacefully, just like China solved their problem. We have to launch massive united people of all religion communities must come together and launch mighty people's struggles, and thereafter a mighty revolution led by modern-minded leaders who are determined to make their country highly industrialized, who are patriotic, selfless, and the struggle will last for a long time. It's going to be maybe 10, 15 years. It's going to be protracted struggle. And tremendous sacrifices will have to be made, because the developed countries will not easily allow this transformation to take place. You understand? Because they will feel threatened that their industries will collapse if the Indian subcontinent is transformed into a mighty industrial giant. This is the basic thing which is happening in the world today. You people don't know this, and you talk left and right, this and that, any nonsense. I'm telling you the secret. This is the main thing, that our Indian subcontinent must be transformed into a modern industrial giant, which can only be done by a people's struggle and a people's revolution.
So thank you very kindly. You gave detailed information. So this is basically divide and rule and use the politician and people in the power. That's right?
Correct.
Okay. Now I would like to request you for the solution for this. What is the solution?
A mighty people's struggle and a people's revolution. It can't be done peacefully, because the powerful forces, the developed countries are very powerful. They will not easily allow our transformation into a modern industrial giant, because they feel that if that is done, their industries will collapse. They can't face the competition. We'll sell good at half or one-third the price at which they sell their goods. Will they allow this easily? You must understand this. They will fight it tooth and nail. And they are doing it. What is Narendra Modi? He was just brought in to spread hatred against Muslims. That was the main purpose, to divide India. Similarly, other politicians in India, they operate on caste basis, many parties, and others on ethnic basis and all. The whole game is that make Indians fight each other in the name of religion, caste, and so on. And same in Pakistan also. But one thing I must tell you, that India is the most developed among the underdeveloped countries. There are underdeveloped countries, but India is the most developed among the underdeveloped countries. So India is going to give the lead in this process.
Sarah, you explained it very well, but my concern at the moment is in India, you explained it. And so this means all the politicians in this area, they're working for the developed countries, not
Exactly.
to come at the same platform.
They're all foreign agents. All political parties are objectively, I'm not saying subjectively, but objectively, they are agents of some foreign powers.
In America, there are political differences. There was a debate between President Biden and ex-President Donald Trump. When you look at in France, they called for the election. When you look at in England, they called for the election. So these developed countries, inside their own countries, there are so many rifts. But why underdeveloped countries are not understanding? They cannot rule in their own countries, they don't have harmony in their own country, and they are not letting underdeveloped countries to develop.
There's basically no difference between Republican or Democrat. Both represents the big business class in USA. Similarly, there's no difference between the conservative and the labor in UK, because both represent the big business class in UK. So they are not real differences. Whether Republicans come to power or Democrats come to power, it will be big business of USA which will be in power. So then this difference is just superficial. But on this, they are determined that underdeveloped countries must not be allowed to become developed countries. For the reason that then their industries will collapse, because we have cheap labor. Always keep it in mind that everything turns on the cost of labor once you develop a massive industrial base. A country which has cheap labor has a distinct advantage over a country which has expensive labor. Now, US labor is very expensive. Therefore, their goods are very costly. And we have very competent engineers now in India and Pakistan. We can produce the same high quality goods at 1/3 or 1/2 the price. Then who will buy their goods? The industry will collapse, throwing millions out of employment.
Now I definitely focus on on Pakistan as well, because it is said that Pakistan is a deep state, and Hillary Clinton explained it that it is difficult for us to deal with the different politicians, so we want to deal with the army. This is not me, this is what the Hillary Clinton explained. So do you think they will never let these leaders to wake up and work for the betterment of subcontinent to rule the world? How these politicians can be waken up to take a step and unite together to beat the West?
Listen, first you must understand who really rules Pakistan. It is the Americans who rule Pakistan. The Pakistan army obeys the orders of the US government. Whatever US government tells them to do, they will do. For example, almost all these army generals, General Munir and corps commanders and all of them have been bribed by the Americans in this way, that their sons have been given jobs in World Bank or IMF, paying very, very huge salaries, or given admission on full scholarship in Harvard or Yale or something. In this way, all these army generals of Pakistan have been bribed over. Bribing can be in many different ways. And they have huge bank balances in US banks. So they are all pro-American. Whatever the Americans tell the army generals to do, they will do. So please understand, I don't regard the Pakistan army as such a big danger, as because they are really controlled by the US. Please get your concept clear. It is the US which controls the Pakistan army. You remember they put Bhutto to death because Bhutto was not agreeable to stop purchasing nuclear fuel from France, and he was tilting towards China and Russia. And Kissinger came in and gave a warning to Bhutto that there will be dire consequences, but he did not listen. So they told General Zia to hang him, and General Zia obeyed his order. So it is the US which controls the Pakistan army. US is angry with Imran Khan because Imran Khan gave many statements against the US. He said that the US made us send our troops to Afghanistan where many soldiers were killed and we have become slaves. And then he went to Moscow and met President Putin when the Ukraine war was going on. All this has made the Americans very angry with Imran Khan. But I have said something. I wonder whether you got my article in which I wrote that Pakistanis in US and Canada have been protesting against the detention of Imran Khan, but to no avail. And the reason for that is that there are only 630,000 Pakistanis in US, whereas there are 5 million Indians in US. And I have suggested that Pakistanis in US should join hands and form a united organization with the Indians in US. Then they will be 10 times more powerful than what they are at present. And then their voice will be more effective. Delegation of them, this joint organization should go and meet the US authorities and tell them that, look, it is in your interest that there is peace and law and order in Pakistan, because there are huge US investments of US firms in Pakistan. They will all be endangered if there's a breakdown of law and order. And law and order can only come after a free and fair elections. This last election of 8th February was, rigged massively. There should be another election which should be free and fair. And then I'm sure Imran Khan will win 80-90% of the seats because, as I have understood, 80-90% Pakistanis support Imran Khan. And he should be allowed to become Prime Minister. Of course, he had made statements against US, but then I'm sure a cooler atmosphere, talks can be held between US authorities and Imran Khan. And he will, and some deal can be struck. Because after all, Imran Khan is not anti-West. He has lived much of his life in the West. He understands the West. And it is not that he is inherently anti-US. So some kind of deal can be struck with him, and free and fair elections can be held. And then he will come to power, and then there will be peace and law and order in Pakistan. I see no other way. Otherwise, there's bound to be guerrilla war or some kind of civil war in Pakistan, which will hurt American interests. This should be explained by the representatives of this joint Indo-Pak organization in America to the US authorities, and I'm sure they will understand that it is in their interest that there's peace and law and order in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly, sir. My last question is, of course, the West would not allow power to be shifted towards China and towards the subcontinent. Now, how do you see ultimately that the dollar is not as powerful because they are using China, Russia, India, and all these countries are using their own currency for exchange? And what is going to happen, because Middle East is also shifted towards Russia and China? How do you look at it, and what do you see if things go on this way? Where do you see world in next 10 years and power in next 10 years?
I don't agree that Middle East has shifted to Russia and China. Almost all Middle Eastern countries are pro-American. Saudi Arabia is pro-American, or the UAE and other, most of these countries, except perhaps Syria may not be, but most of the countries are pro-American. So I don't agree with this premise of yours. And in other countries also, US has tremendous influence. There is no doubt it is the biggest superpower in the world. So it is not that the influence has gone down. Yes, a little bit shift may have taken place because China has grown, but still USA commands predominance in these areas.
It's a great message by a jurist and the former judge for the Supreme Court of India, Janab Justice Markandey. It's a great just to defeat those who want to rule all the people from India, Pakistan and subcontinent, Bangladesh, around the world should make united effort and make united organization so we can live as big brothers, young brother, but we have to work together to make this area stronger. And I wish the politicians should be, उनको politicians को आप देखें कि वो किसके लिए काम कर रहे हैं. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.